Alright, folks, we have an urgent story that happened today in Far Rockaway. There was a hospital fire. Literally, my Facebook's been going crazy all over it. And look what they're leading off with tonight. Look what they're leading off with tonight on the news. I get 9/11 is a big deal, and I feel really bad for, every family member, every friend who lost somebody, but we had a major fire in Far Rockaway tonight. This should not be leading off the newscast. Alright, so at least Channel 4 is talking about it.
The smoke was so thick that it brought back painful memories for some people in Far Rockaway, Queens.
Eventually, it was determined it was a hospital that was burning, St. John's Episcopal Hospital, the only one that serves the Far Rockaway community. News 4's Anjali Hemphill has some new information on the fire.
Alright, so at least they send the reporter.
Firefighters had to evacuate an entire floor of the hospital, bringing dozens of patients and staff down to the parking lot. And officials say all emergency calls had to be diverted to other hospitals more than 45 minutes away.
But again, this should have let off the newscast.
Flames and dark smoke billowed into a bright blue sky Friday afternoon as the roof of St. John's Episcopal Hospital in Far Rockaway caught fire and burned for several hours.
We just seen the whole roof on fire. Smoke was coming all the way down here.
Joshua Okrit and his family lived just a couple blocks away and watched as dozens of fire trucks rushed to the scene, and patients and staff were wheeled out from the building into the parking lot.
Sorry about that. I'm just trying to connect my phone to the computer.
To different parts of the hospital, and we're just trying to assist them to get the hospital up and running.
Firefighters say the entire 11th floor had to be evacuated, and emergency calls to the hospital were temporarily diverted. Investigators believe the fire started on the roof.
There was work being done on the roof, possibly, but I can't confirm anything right now.
It was back in March when News 4 did a story at St. John's as the hospital faced a 20% cut in state funding, which could mean more than 1,000 lost jobs and some services. State Senator James Sanders Jr. says today's fire reiterates the need for more health care on the peninsula.
The other news of the night, and a two-alarm fire broke out.
Oh, here we go. Channel 7's talking about the fire.
Tonight, forcing the evacuation of its emergency room. The fire was first reported shortly after 5 p.m. at the hospital on Beach 19th Street in Far Rockaway. Citizen app video shows thick black smoke coming from the roof. 2 people suffered minor injuries. It took about 2 hours to bring that fire under control. The cause is still under investigation.
They didn't even send the reporter, unlike Channel 4. So there you go. I understand it again. 9/11, the anniversary is tomorrow, and I understand that. And I want to apologize to anybody who may have been offended, but you gotta understand that if I were a news director in any of these stations, I would have said, I get we're at the World Trade Center tonight, because I know 2, 4, and 7, they did have their anchors at the World Trade Center tonight. But if I'm a news director, I would have said, sorry, we're not leading off with this. We had a big hospital fire in Queens this evening that should have been top priority. Top priority. And I will mention randomly that none of the newscasts tonight didn't even give our COVID numbers for today. Need I remind you, we're still in a global pandemic. We still have the Delta variant on the rise. Pediatric hospitalizations are going up. We have a new variant that might be resistant to the vaccines. And we're only a week away from the boosters coming. And I do apologize if you hear that somebody shouting outside. I can't do that, because if I close my windows tonight, this room will just get very hot. Especially how it might even get below 60 tonight. But before I get off topic, as I said, I wanted to apologize. If I might have been insensitive, I get all that. But, look, I get emotional about 9/11 too. Everybody knows that I get emotional every time I walk by the cemetery catching the E train at Church and Vesey. Still a hard thought going near there. But let's just get to the topic at hand. Let's actually read a meaningful article from the Queen's Courier, because this is why we have the Queen's Courier. So headline goes, FDNY fights blaze on roof of Far Rockaway Hospital. So here's what the article said. The FDNY extinguished a 2-alarm fire that broke out on the roofs of St. John's Episcopal Hospital in Far Rockaway earlier this evening. Let me just remind all of you that this is the only hospital in the entire Rockaways and for the entire 5 towns. So, there's no other hospital. I just gotta let you all know that. FDNY responded to the call at 5:15 p.m. The fire was on the exterior of the roof, and firemen extinguished the fire just before 7 p.m. according to the FDNY. So according to FDNY alerts, this was a 2-alarm fire that was reported around 7 o'clock tonight. And, you know, I'll just mention that I do have a couple pictures I want to show you from a Facebook friend of mine who lives right near the hospital. So originally, it was 2 people injured, but later on, the Queen's Courier was able to confirm that 4 people were injured as a result of this fire. So again, this should have let off the newscast, but again, I understand that tomorrow is Patriot Day, and I get all that, but, you know, this should have been top priority tonight. And we don't even know the condition of the people who were injured. Some of the hospital staff and patients were sheltered in place, while some were evacuated outside of the hospital. This FDNY personnel worked to extinguish the flames. So there you go. We still do not know cause of fire. The Marshal's office is looking into it. The Queen's Courier has reached out to St. John's Episcopal Hospital for comments. So, this is a hospital. They're not going to give any information. They don't want to violate federal HIPAA law, which is understandable. So, I mean, imagine if there was a major fire where I worked at Long Island Jewish. I mean, remember, if you're reaching out to comment, Norfolk and Mike Dowling are not going to give you information because, again, you don't want to violate federal law and break the HIPAA rule. So, that's why you're not going to get any comment in general. So, it's time to call out a couple people in the media before I show you some pictures. First, let's get to CBS New York. And a shameful job from them tonight. A very shameful job. They didn't even bring up the fire. Not once during the 11 o'clock newscast they brought up the fire, and nothing even on their website. You go on New York headlines, all about 9/11. All about 9/11. I mean, give me a break. And as I said, you know, I'm insensitive. I do apologize. I'm very sorry for that. You know, if you lost somebody at the World Trade Center, I understand. I feel really sorry. But again, too much of anything is bad. This is what my front desk guy told me at Long Island Jewish before he passed. Too much of anything's not good. And this is the example that what he told me before he passed from COVID last year. I mean, look at this. All about 9/11. Nothing about COVID. Nothing about the fire. Nothing about the crime. There was actually a shooting that happened at JFK Airport, which I'll get to at the end of the video. And yes, there actually was a shooting near JFK Airport back on Monday. So I will get to that. Next up, let's go to New York 1. And if you go to New York 1, nothing is even mentioned on the website. Nothing. Nothing! I'm so sick and tired of New York 1. They've just become like News 12 Long Island. And you know why we're not going to get that much coverage? Because, sorry, Queens is such a diverse borough, we don't matter to them. Just because of our demographics. Just because. I mean, imagine if there was a major fire that happened in the Fresh Metals complex, for an example. Nope, we would get ignored just because of our demographic. Yeah, and you even go on to Queens. I'll just quickly look at Queens. Again, 9/11! Yep, nothing about it. Nothing. In fact, the last thing they have was back 4 days ago when the president came to take a look at the damage from Ida. Okay, so let's get back to topic at hand. Thankfully, Channel 11 did send a reporter, and Thankfully, McGee Hickey was there tonight.
This community is 100,000 people live here on the Rockaway Peninsula, and this
At least they spent 2 minutes. Channel 4 did the same thing.
This 2-alarm fire started just after 5 p.m. on the rooftop of the main 11-story building at St. John's.
Look at this. The Queen's Courier didn't even mention that 800 patients were evacuated.
Episcopal Hospital in Far Rockaway. It's where construction work had been going on, and the smoke and the flames could be seen for miles. Relatives of hospital patients rushed to this.
Yeah, Channel 4 was mentioning as well that there was construction, if you couldn't hear the audio.
Scene to make sure their loved ones were all right.
My father is an amputee. He's on the 11th floor. He heard the water coming from the fire when the firefighters were putting out the fire. Right now, there's debris saturating his bed. On his open wounds, he has a heart condition, and he hasn't been moved.
Firefighters were able to assure Julia Charles and her sister that their 75-year-old father, Herbert Binger, had been relocated to the 8th floor and was doing just fine.
Well, you get the point, but, you know, still, I mean, I'm just disgusted with the media and how they just can't get their priorities in check. And, you know, I get that there was a lot of people on the Rockaways who might have been shooken up tonight because, again, tomorrow's the anniversary of 9/11. Coming up in a couple of months will be the anniversary of when the American Airlines plane crashed, and, you know, I understand. I completely get it. But, again, I just believe that the media just doesn't understand its priorities and they just can't get their act together. So, what I'm going to do is let me move this a little bit to the left. I don't want you to see my friend's name on Facebook. Okay, now you won't see her name. So this is what my friend posted on Facebook, because again, I'm not going to give her name out for privacy reasons. But this was literally right by her house. And she was the first to let me and everybody know on Facebook that this was literally going on tonight. I'm like, what? Was my first reaction. And I was just on the phone with my friend in Great Neck, and she was reminding me about it. And I just wanted to randomly see if there was any coverage. And, you know, I'm sorry, but I had to do a rant. I just couldn't hold it in, you know? Yeah, we just looked at these pictures, but this is the one that really scares me. I mean, this one right here. Literally, it's right by her house. Thankfully, Laura Uhl, and we're going to be using her picture in the thumbnail. Let's just get to her thing. Okay, so what she posted was fire at a hospital in the Rockaways. This is at 327 Beach 19th Street. Multiple injuries and evacuations. So again, I'll use this as my thumbnail for later tonight because it's, you know, it just shows how alarming that this fire was. So lastly, I know it's unrelated, but there was a shooting that happened near JFK Airport that again got ignored because we're the media and we just don't seem to care. So let me get to this because this is urgent. This happened on Monday. Okay, so NYPD releases chilling video of fatal shooting near JFK Airport. The NYPD on September 9th released a surveillance video of a seemingly well-planned fatal shooting that was carried out on September 6th near JFK Airport. The haunting images caught on camera showed the shooting death of a 47-year-old St. Albans man was far more nervous than a random shooting. A man dressed in Hasidic garb was working on his white Nissan parked near the Farmers Skyway Inn at 132-10 South Conduit Avenue in South Ozone Park just before 8 a.m. on Labor Day, September 6, 2021. The suspect had the hood of his car open and he appeared to tinker with the engine when the victim, who had been identified as Jermaine Dixon, approaches his own Ford Edge parked across the street. Video shows that as Dixon opened his vehicle, the gunman rushes up behind him and shoots him in the head. As Dixon falls into his vehicle, the suspect runs back to his vehicle, slams down the hood, and jumps into the driver's seat, peeling away from the scene in a black and white Nissan sedan. Sadly, the victim was pronounced dead at the scene. as EMS units responded. So this happened, right, broad daylight, 8 o'clock in the morning. So we do have a video we're going to play in just a second here. So it said the NYPD updated the information on the victim, saying Dixon most recently resided in Loganville, Georgia. There you go. Look at that. I mean, that's alarming. I mean, look at this. Need I mind you, this is a Hasidic Jewish man committing this crime. That's how alarming this is. And you know why the media is not going to report on it. I mean, I'm looking at it from somebody who's trying to not censor free media in this country. I'm Jewish. But we need to understand that the lamestream media covers this. Oh, they're going to be called anti-Semitic. Yep. Oh, come on. We know the suspect's Hasidic. Come on, he's wearing the Hasidic clothing. That's kind of alarming to think that a Hasidic Jew would be carrying around a handgun in Far Rockaway. Doesn't that seem alarming? I mean, yes, there are dark-skinned Jews. There are them. I mean, look at Drake. My friend on the Rockaway is dark-skinned and she's Jewish. But, you know, it just comes to a point where this is again censoring free media. This is what Mark Dice constantly talks about. And I'm sick of it. I'm really sick of it. Okay, so the suspect is described as a dark-skinned man last seen wearing a black hat, a white face mask, and a black clothing. So there you go. So, I'm going to wrap this video up before I get more riled up. But again, you know, I'm not being paranoid as usual. I'm really telling you folks how things are going with our media these days. And I really wish that, you know, you'd splash some water on your face, you know, look in the mirror and just say to yourself that maybe Andy's Randomness, maybe Mark Dice, maybe Pine Power LI is leading on to something here on YouTube. That there's a big conspiracy going on about censoring free media. And it really needs to stop. Okay? I'm really getting sick and tired of this. And just like how when Pine Power LI talks about how, you know, News 12 Long Island is not talking about news that matters, or the fact that the lamestream media is not going to correct any mistakes that President Biden makes. You know, it comes to a point where more people have got to speak up and call out the media. Because it has to continue. And we have to take back our media. We have our First Amendment rights being threatened. Because a lot of these big companies want to censor us. And we're not going to let it stand. We're not going to be silent. There's going to be more to come. And trust me, and I'm going to say this one more time. I do apologize if I have offended anyone. I'm sorry if I offended anybody with, you know, 9/11, and I get all that. But, again, it's really time to start smelling the roses, smell the coffee, and just realize that there's a big picture going on. And after September 11th, we've all got to start calling out the media for what they really are. So, that's it. Thank you for watching, and I'm going to say this properly. God bless New York. God bless America. And, you know, protect our troops, because tomorrow is a very sensitive day in this country, and especially all the first responders. Tomorrow is going to be a very sensitive day for this country. So thank you all for watching.